So I just finished watching Twisted Metal, the new Peacock series based on the original PlayStation IP. And these are going to be my unscripted thoughts. I just finished watching the show, haven't written anything for this, just going to give you kind of my right off the end kind of thoughts on what I thought of the whole show. Before I get started, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more, as well as turn on notifications to see every single video when I post them. So Twisted Metal is originally an old PlayStation series. It's pretty much just like post-apocalyptic game where you take control of like a car that pretty much acts like a monster tank with guns, and it's just indestructible. And it's just this vehicle combat type video game that just was always a lot of fun for me, at least playing as a kid. There was never really much of a story in the games, at least till later on. I remember the PlayStation 3 game, which I absolutely loved. There was a little bit of a story to each one of the characters that I absolutely loved playing back in the day. It never really got too deep, but it definitely had a vibe to it that I definitely really enjoyed. So now Twisted Metal, the TV series, is kind of a loose adaptation of those games, kind of covering the basic vibe of how the world looks, how the characters look, and of course being a vehicle combat show, a show that really centers around the combat of these vehicles. But the show definitely has a different thematical type of twist than the game has, and I'll get into more of that in a second. The show stars Anthony Mackie, who plays John Doe, a character that I don't really think was from the original games, but he is absolutely awesome in this show. Anthony Mackie is great in everything he's in. The show also stars Stephanie Beatrice as a character called Quiet. First of all, the show definitely is a really cool take on like that sort of generic post-apocalyptic type storytelling. I mean, we've seen a million shows like this, The Walking Dead, a billion other different things, but this show definitely has a unique little twist to it. I think the world is really cool. I think the way everything's built with the settlements of the insiders and then everybody living outside the settlements called the outsiders, and how they're kind of separate cultures and separate types of people, I think is absolutely really cool. I think the sound design and the music supervision is awesome. I think the show at times can be actually kind of funny and hilarious. The jokes sort of work. And the action is definitely cool at times, especially earlier on in the show. The show also does a really good job of setting up this bigger story and kind of taking you through this journey with Anthony Mackie's character that really kind of works throughout its full run. The show also had like this weird early 2000s vibe to it. I don't know why, but the show just made me feel really, really nostalgic. And I really enjoyed that about it. It kind of felt like early Walking Dead, but also not early Walking Dead because there's a heavy amount of ridiculous comedy. Some other stuff that worked. Let's talk about some of the other characters that are in the show. Sweet Tooth. Oh my god, they did Sweet Tooth so well. Sweet Tooth in the games is obviously the most, a recognizable character from the Twisted Metal series. And in the games, he's definitely a more serious, a little more, definitely unhinged, but a little bit more of a serious and dark and kind of scary character. And I'll get more into that in my cons. In this show, Sweet Tooth is definitely a little bit more comedic, but he's still a psychotic wrecking ball of a character, and he's played by two different actors. Samoa Joe, the wrestler, does all the physical stuff, and he is tremendous. As somebody who is not usually an actor, he does a very, very good job at all the physical aspect, as well as some of like the eye acting in this. Will Arnett does the voice. He's good. Overall, Sweet Tooth is just an amazing character. Whenever he's on screen, the show is at its absolute best, and I really loved that aspect of the show. Also, Thomas Hayden Church kind of plays the villain of the season. His name is Agent Stone, I believe. Kind of plays this former mall cop who has become this post-apocalyptic cop leader in a way, and his character's really cool. Thematically, maybe a little bit too on the nose, but I did really like his performance, and his character as a whole worked for me. I also really like the ending of the show, although I won't spoil it. It definitely set up a much more interesting and exciting season 2 that will definitely be more of a Twisted Metal, adaptation than this season was. It'll definitely be what we came to see in a Twisted Metal show. I think season 2 will be that, and I kind of wish they did that in season 1. But still, if season 2 gets made, I am very excited for it. Now let me get into some of my cons. And overall, I think my cons are mostly just about the tone of the show. The show is overly comedic and overly goofy, and I think Twisted Metal might have worked best with a better balance. And while I was watching the show, I was kind of thinking about Deadpool. Whereas in the Deadpool movies, you have Deadpool, who is this incredibly self-aware and goofy character, but pretty much all the characters around him are overly unself-aware and overly serious, and it kind of creates this imbalance that ultimately makes the story funnier, and it makes the tone of everything just feel like a lot more organic. Whereas in this show, we have this world that you would think would contain a lot of serious characters, a lot of serious tones, and a lot of serious themes and everything. But every character in this universe just seems to be the absolute biggest goofball, and it gets to a point where it just kind of becomes unwatchable. I think Anthony Mackie's character should have been that comedic, that goofball of a character. That self-aware, over-the-top, hilarious character. And I really thought early in the series that Stephanie Beatrice's Quiet character, I thought she was going to be this more serious, unself-aware character to balance it out. I mean, her name is Quiet. She's this character who does not speak. Which, by the way, character named Quiet, doesn't talk, brunette. Are we shouting out another popular PlayStation series here?
I'm back.
But either way, I really liked her character in the first couple episodes where she really was this kind of balanced out, you know, this opposite of Anthony Mackie's character, and I wish they kind of went with that the whole series, but then she just becomes even, like, goofier than Anthony Mackie's character, and I just did not buy it at all, and that kind of took away a lot of what made the show work for me in those first 2 episodes. And if you go back to the Twisted Metal games, I mean, there's a lot in those games that's a lot darker and a lot, like, really serious and almost, like, kind of delves into, like, horror vibes, you know, and I kind of wish they delved more into that, and maybe they will in the second season. I just wish there was a little bit more of a serious tone, but this show definitely went, like, the more MCU route of everything has to be self-aware and a joke, and I definitely think the comedy here is probably better than the modern MCU comedy, which really isn't a hard bar to reach, but it got to a point where it was just a little bit too much, and I was just kind of, like, shutting my brain off to it, and I just did not fully engage with a lot of the later parts of the show. Also, Neve Campbell is in the show. I don't really know why, but she's good, I guess, in the scenes that she's in. But overall, the show's fine. It's definitely a good watch. Is it a good adaptation of the games? I guess it's probably the best that we could really hope for. Anthony Mackie's great. Samoa Joe and Will Arnett are great. The show has a lot to enjoy, and I'm sure casual audiences will find some real fun in the show. But it does have its issues. It's not perfect. It's nowhere near the best show of the year. I will give it a solid 3 out of 5. So that's it. Have you guys watched Twisted Metal? If you have, leave your thoughts down below. Did you guys play the old Twisted Metal games? I'm really kind of interested to hear about that because I don't know many people that have actually played the Twisted Metal video games, but they are awesome. But yeah, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more, turn on notifications, and I will see y'all in the next one.